Hello, everybody. Welcome to comment section number 14. But this is not a regular episode of comment section.
It is not.
This is an episode where we're going to talk about the whole time about the movie Spider-Man: Homecoming, which came out last July.
Yes,
and it's
and
going
we're
to be
getting it now.
It's going to be, it's very, very topical right now. Only 6 months late. It's a full spoiler podcast. This is going to be all spoilers, so turn back now if you don't want spoilers. Turn back! I'm warning you right now. We're gonna do it. We're gonna pull the spoiler trigger. You better step back, okay? Vulture is Liz's dad. So.
Oh my God!
Yeah.
Yes, Vulture is Liz's dad. All right, so now that we're doing these specials, which aren't going to happen for every movie, just like movies that you feel are worthy of it, or just franchises where you're just like, yes. All right, so I had a question I thought I'd ask.
All right.
For every franchise like thing we do with this, so I've always wondered this, especially because you said your childhood was terrible and you never actually watched the 90s Spider-Man animated series, which on one hand I feel sorry for you, yet on the other hand I envy you a little bit because it's all 65 of the episodes are available. You don't have to wait week to week to week for the 3-part Alien Suit Venom story.
Yeah, I didn't make it over to those channels.
It was such a big part of my youth.
Yeah.
Was that storyline, and yet you can see it for the first time, but that's not what this is about.
Yeah.
So now I am curious, what was your introduction to Spider-Man?
I think the first Sam Raimi Spider-Man. I think it was that era, Spider-Man becoming a big marketed thing when the first Spider-Man movie was coming out, and I might have even started reading some of the comics before it came out. I feel like, but that's really my first.
So the movie is what got you into it.
Yeah. That was my introduction to Spider-Man, was Toby, the Tobster.
The original, well, not the original. That's Nicholas Hammond, but no one remembers him.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Although I do like that Nicholas Hammond show. Most people don't. It's not available on DVD. It's only available on YouTube.
Yeah.
But, so, yes, for my introduction for Spider-Man, it was, like I said earlier, the 90s animated series that aired on Fox Kids, which one of the biggest parts of my day was putting it on Channel 5, which is where our local Fox is on, and Spider-Man in the afternoon. So that was a big part, and later the show had kind of like a half spin-off sequel called Spider-Man Unlimited.
Right.
And obviously, one of the most hyped movies, like I remember the hype for the first Sam Raimi movie so much. Like I remember TV spots. Spider-Man was like everywhere during that time, which was nice because I remember the cartoon had been done for a little bit, and me not knowing that it was like an ongoing, at the time 40-year thing, thinking, well,
yeah,
it was fun, I guess it's done. But no, it was just the beginning. And so yeah, Spider-Man, first superhero movie I ever saw in theaters. Probably yours too.
Probably mine too.
And I remember the morning of watching the 90s cartoon, like on ABC Family. That's how old we are. ABC Family. And it was an episode with Morbius the Living Vampire. Just to give you guys some reference. That's how vivid it was. I think it was the season finale of season 2, which would have been a rerun. All the ones out during that time would have been a rerun. So it was so hyped. And remember, for when we were in elementary, and there's always phases. So right now, the Marvel Cinematic Universe is the big superhero franchise. Before that, it was the Christopher Nolan Batman. But when we were in elementary and middle school, it was Spider-Man. That was the big franchise. We had X-Men too, and Batman Begins, but the one people were just like, oh, this is the one, was the Spider-Man trilogy.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure every young boy our age had a Spider-Man themed birthday at that time period.
Were you ever Spider-Man for Halloween?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I was always kind of more abstract, like what royalty-free Halloween costume kind of things. Like,
Don't want to get stupid with the copyright. Just give me the candy.
yeah, I think my first Halloween costume ever was Woody, I think.
For Toy Story.
Yeah, but after, like,
So
usually...
your first so that would have made you 2 then.
I don't think
If it
was
came
right
out Thanksgiving '95.
I think it was a little older than that. I might have been, like, 4 or something.
Oh,
But,
okay.
But yeah.
So, Spider-Man also was the second comic I ever bought. The Amazing Spider-Man, Volume 2, Issue 31 from July 2001. But I'm assuming you don't remember what your first Spider-Man comic was.
My introduction was the fat, like, pack of the first...
the
was
first 10, plus
Yeah.
Amazing Fantasy 15.
That, and still to this day, that is... And also it being one of my introductions to comic books, period. It is one of my favorite, like, comic book possessions I have.
Yes.
Because I just remember reading the first 10 for the first time. And it's amazing. So.
Yeah, reading those first 10 is what made me go back and buy, like, back issues, like... Well, not back issues, because they're, like, thousands of dollars, but, like, old Supermans and Batmans and The Flash and Justice League. So, Spider-Man was the first comic I started collecting. Kind of sounds like that was for you.
Yeah.
And
and I you know what? We talked about it before. I remembered what that Batman comic series was that I thought was a Joker series.
yes, it was a Two-Face
It was
one.
a Two-Face one. I don't... Maybe I mentioned it already.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was called Jekyll and Hyde or something.
I swear to you, I was almost going to bring it up when you were figuring it out. Like, I remember you bought this Two-Face one.
Yeah, I remembered it being Joker for some reason. But yeah, I was wrong.
So, Spider-Man was the first comic I started collecting. You know, you want to talk about Marvel versus DC bias? Grocery store where I would buy comics on the spinner rack only had Marvel and Archie. On the top, they had like Spider-Man, Superman, Archie, and I think like Mickey Mouse or something. But
Yeah.
all it was just Marvel and Archie.
Yeah.
So, also, as you mentioned earlier, I played a lot of time the video game of the movie
Yeah.
on the PlayStation 2, and also, maybe you played this too, I don't know. I also would play the re-release of the 2000 game on the computer that during the time of the movie they released in cereal boxes.
Oh.
Remember that?
I haven't played it, but I remember I remember what it is.
So, yes. All right, and we're going to drag this out, this intro a little bit, because this is going to be a controversial episode. So,
Right.
yes.
Right.
So, this is part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, real quick, without saying, like, Spider-Man, what was your introduction to, like, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and how do you feel about it
And when
so
you're saying
far?
the Marvel Cinematic Universe, you're talking about like
What
with
started
Iron Man?
Yeah. Starting with Iron Man. So we're not counting the X-Men movies or Sam Raimi Spider-Man.
Well, yeah, I saw Iron Man in theaters and remember remember thinking it was good, and it took a while and many releases of Marvel Cinematic Universe films for me to start going like, considering myself a fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. I was mostly just going as a casual, like, this looks like a good movie. So it took a while. Trying to think if I can think of... It probably was more around the, like, 2012, 2013 sort of period of Marvel films when I started being more of a proper fan of it. So it took a while. But yeah, more like Avengers to Guardians of the Galaxy, like, era that was probably when I started actually properly wanting to go see each one. But I still haven't seen the Captain America ones.
Oh, shame on you!
Although I resubbed to Netflix and I noticed Civil War is just staring me at it, and so yeah.
So, I remember when they announced that they were going to do an Iron Man movie, I was just like, why? That's going to fail. We're really scraping the bottom of the barrel now.
Yeah.
Not knowing what was going to happen. I didn't plan on seeing Iron Man in theaters because, I'll be honest, I kind of think Iron Man's kind of an uninteresting character. But then I heard about how the movie was good, so I went to see the movie, and the first Iron Man movie is a great movie.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not the biggest fan of Iron Man, like comics or whatever, the movie is still great.
I mean, some people kind of almost consider it like the best superhero film?
Some people
do. I don't think so.
I think
but...
Iron Man and The Dark Knight, I think, are the highest rated ones at 94%. And Wonder Woman, I think those three share it. So, although I was excited for the Incredible Hulk movie, where we were going to see a Hulk movie that didn't suck, where he didn't fight the stupid poodles. And for most of Marvel movies, I'm a big fan of them, especially the Captain America movies. Those are my favorite ones. And a lot of people were wondering, when that first Avengers movie came out, so many people were wondering, why isn't Spider-Man there?
Right.
So I didn't think Spider-Man should be in the first Avengers movie because Spider-Man is not a founding member of the Avengers, so he shouldn't be there until the third one. And it kind of worked out that way. I mean, technically, Civil War is technically in Avengers 3.
Yeah.
But, so, what were your thoughts? I'll just say before, I always thought it'd be cool to have Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. But I was always worried because Marvel, I think the thing that makes Marvel movies so great is that these aren't guaranteed franchise hits. Like every Marvel movie from Iron Man to the Avengers to Guardians of the Galaxy, Ant-Man, people are always just like, is this going to be the one that finally fails? So it forces them to create great movies. And I always was worried that if they were like going to take like a lesser known character, but they had the rights to Spider-Man, they would kind of just throw something together knowing it would make money.
Yeah.
And I also don't know if we would have as many Marvel Cinematic Universe solo movies if they could just rely on Spider-Man and the X-Men. So I think it worked out better that he wasn't there for the first 8 years.
Yeah.
But what were your thoughts on... Did you ever think you were going to see Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? And what were your thoughts on when they announced it in February 2015?
Oh, yeah. So, I think... I mean, I've always known that, like... like, I've known that Spider-Man was owned by Sony and that was an obstacle with having Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe movies. And I always don't understand, like, corporate and property of intellectual property mumbo-jumbo, so I just figured that I just wasn't expecting it. I was just like, it's not going to happen. But not that I thought it was completely unbelievable when it did, but I was surprised. I was like, oh, I guess that they can be forgiving and allow them to use their precious IP. Yeah, I remember seeing Spidey in that trailer for the movie that I still haven't seen, and
which I will once again say is my favorite MCU movie.
Yeah.
Like the cream of the crop.
Yeah.
But
yeah, I mean,
one day.
Yeah. I don't have much else to say about that.
I never thought we were going to get Spider-Man in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, and as I just said, I was more than fine with that. But what happened was kind of a few circumstances that happened. So I bought the Blu-ray for The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and they had like a little disc. I mean, not a little disc, a DVD that was a bonus feature that was setting up a Sinister Six movie. Because remember when they were doing the Amazing Spider-Man franchise, they were talking about doing a Sinister Six movie and a Solo Venom movie.
Yeah, I remember that.
So I just watched it just while I was doing something. And then the alarm bells started going off of, oh my god, they are showing things they shouldn't be showing, and they clearly don't have a plan for what they're going to do. Like, the Amazing Spider-Man franchise, it had one goal with the first one, and then once the Avengers happened, the goal shifted into creating a cinematic universe, even though they only have one franchise. So there was that, and I was just like, oh boy, I don't know, I think this franchise is kind of dead. And then they delayed Amazing Spider-Man 3 from 2016 to 2018, so that's a 4-year gap. Just like how they delayed Spider-Man 4 from 2010 to 2011, And I was just like, I kind of think history's repeating itself.
Yeah.
So I was a little worried of like, oh, I don't want Marvel to have the full rights to Spider-Man because I think it hurts both Spider-Man and the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And then they also announced around that time that they were going to do a Civil War movie. And I was so excited because Civil War is one of my favorite comics. And I was excited, but I was just like, it's too bad Spider-Man's not going to be in there because boy, would that be so much even better because Spidey has like a pretty big role in the movie. But I was like, well, we're going to get Black Panther. By the way, Black Panther looks so good.
That's my next. I'm really excited. It's coming.
But this
soon.
is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So I was just like, well, it'd be cool. But then in February 2015, we heard the news that Marvel Studios and Sony had made the deal to where they were going to share Spider-Man and they were going to reboot him into the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which I thought was like the best way to do it because Marvel got to play with it, but at the same time, you still had Sony had final say to where they couldn't just throw something together. They're just like, hey guys, this is this is our franchise. You make sure you do it right.
Yeah.
So I loved having that they were working together on it. And then Spider-Man, never thought this would happen. Spider-Man was in Civil War, and I thought he was the highlight of the movie. I thought they did a really great job. It felt like a combination of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man and the Mark Webb one, just kind of splashed together while kind of also doing their own thing. I thought it was a perfect adaptation of the character, and I was so excited because Marvel has done such a great job with their lesser-known characters, and now they had their most famous one.
Absolutely.
So now, we're going to get into our review
of the latest Spider-Man
of
movie.
Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, probably should say this up front. Some people are going to get mad.
Yeah, there's probably not going to be a more controversial episode that we've ever done, except for maybe the other ones where we talked about the same thing.
Yes. So, here's the thing. You all know I don't like Spider-Man Homecoming. That's almost an understatement to say I don't like it. But, in fact, I was almost going to... I remember when we talked about doing this, and we were almost going to play a game called Convince Me to Like Spider-Man Homecoming.
Yeah.
And we did a little mini version
Yeah.
on the last episode.
Because I do like it.
And I couldn't believe it. I heard what you said. And you made it worse. You somehow made it worse.
Yeah, like the things I said in that
podcast. When you said you had one reason about why I said convince me why I should like this movie, and you said one reason, and it made it worse.
I remember saying that it kind of is more of a comedy than a
well,
superhero
you
movie.
said it's probably best to look at it not as a Spider-Man movie, and more of a comedy.
I think it's more like it's like a different style of superhero movie than like it's stylistically very different.
Anyway, I started thinking about it. I'm just like, you know what? This really isn't a Spider-Man movie. Nothing about this is Spider-Man. So it takes a lot to break someone even more.
Okay, I know we probably want to mostly get on topic, but I actually do have. Typically, that's kind of. I understand when fans get kind of like irked when something's like this isn't a Spider-Man movie, but. I feel like a similar thing is a lot of people with the new Star Wars, which I loved, but is the most divided Star Wars ever. A lot of people say, this isn't a Star Wars movie.
Remember when people wanted Rian Johnson to direct Episode 9?
Yeah, that was funny.
The good old days. Remember when people were just like...
But he's getting his whole own trilogy now, which I'm excited for, but... Oh, yeah.
Really?
Yeah. But, I mean, it did well. It's about Spider-Man.
Yes.
Let's get...
Remember when The Phantom Menace was the most... Attack of the Clones was the most hated Star Wars movie?
You know, I think it's still the most disliked. We can talk about it if we're on a Star Wars episode.
Well, one day we'll get there. And you think people don't like this one? Oh, I can... I shudder. I feel the dark side. I feel your anger rising.
Hey, I like putting out positive opinions more. I like putting out positive opinions towards things that are disliked more than the opposite. So that's why in the episode 15 that's coming after this, I will like that one more than this one. So, but yeah, I want to talk about Spider-Man: Homecoming.
So let's just start with this real quick. And you know what? We can all. Okay, I'll get to that in a second. I feel like that I should say something. Now, I don't like Spider-Man: Homecoming. Spoiler alert! Welcome to the show. But when I say when I give my opinion about the movie, it's not to change anyone's opinion. If this movie had to, because I'm glad there are people who like it, and I'm not going to try and change anyone's opinion. If you like it, that's awesome. I mean, it's just one person's opinion. So that's the great thing about talking about art, is that no one is right. Well, I mean, not everybody's wrong. Everyone is right if you say what your opinion is on a movie.
Yeah.
So, I'm not going to change. It's just my opinion. The only people whose opinions don't matter are the people who only like it or dislike it because it says Marvel Studios.
Right.
If you're just like, this is the best Spider-Man ever! Well, why? Because it says Marvel Studios on the logo! Okay, compared to the Sony ones? Yes! Because it was like Sony at the beginning! So that makes it evil!
That's true.
Then your opinion,
It does, no.
then your opinion means nothing. Just like if you're a DC fanboy and just like, this sucks because it has the Marvel logo.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, did I ever tell you? We're getting to there, guys. I remember going to see Batman vs. Superman, and they played the Civil War trailer.
Yeah.
Because obviously they're going after the same audience.
Yeah.
And there was a guy who was so offended that they would show a Marvel trailer during this precious DC movie. He was just like, what? Oh! And when Spider-Man showed up on screen, the biggest one, he was so mad.
Why can't people just like things?
Seriously. You can,
Anyway,
you
why
can
do you
have
hate it?
your
No,
war
Yeah.
about Marvel versus DC, yet I can have a double feature
Yeah.
of Civil War and Crisis on Earth X. I watched it. Oh my god, it was so good. That's like the crossover of like Arrow and Flash and Supergirl and all those. Oh my god, it was... I would just say if that had been what was in theaters, I would say, give Marvel back the X-Men and Fantastic Four. We are perfectly fine.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. So,
Yep.
I figured what we could do is an unwanted answers tradition. Do you have your divided into points?
I have mine in order into points, but they're kind of out of order. But yeah, they are.
So I felt like we could. You do one, I do one.
Yeah, I'll say yeah. So as tradition in, I guess apparently both of our podcasts now,
Yes.
but it's at its heart, it's from our podcast Unwanted Answers.
Yes.
We're gonna
Here's
flip
the
a
penny,
coin.
even from the pilot.
The pilot.
Oh wait, guys, Unwanted Answers is not canceled. A lot of stuff has been coming up, so
Yeah.
there will be a next.
This show is
Answers.
often more pressing, although there are people waiting
Yes.
for our answers and Unwanted Answers. All right, so let's flip the coin.
And as always,
I'm always tails.
yes. All right, so here we go. Here we go.
It's falling to the ground. It's
Oh,
heads. It's-
all right, heads.
All right,
I
so
will go first.
You read your first point.
Okay.
We took notes. When did you take notes? Because I took my
Last
notes
night.
immediately. I only saw Spider-Man: Homecoming for the first time in November, a few months after it came out, and I took my notes immediately after seeing it. So they're like fresh notes, and then I think I might have added some things in preparation for the podcast. So
I had to just rely on my memory because I figured life is too short to watch this movie again. So I read the article on Wikipedia, which jogged my memory,
yeah.
and I watched a few clips on YouTube.
All right. So what's your first point?
So I had mine divided in what I liked and what I disliked. So
That's what I don't have, but yeah.
okay,
you can
well,
go.
I have it where the few things I liked,
All right.
are first.
All right. Let's start with the positive.
So we'll start with the positive. Don't get used to it. All right, so when you can look at this compared to previous Spider-Man movies, we had two perfect actors to play Spider-Man. We had Tobey Maguire and we had Andrew Garfield. And they were so perfect in the role. And Tom Holland, I felt, continued that tradition. Tom Holland, I think, is such a great Spider-Man. It felt like The few times the comedy worked in the movie, which wasn't a lot, it felt like he did a good job playing that, and it also felt like he did a good job playing the dramatic moments. Very few in this movie, but the standout scene for me is when Peter is in the house with Liz, and he sees her. He realizes who her dad is, and like the mom is all getting ready, and like taking pictures and all that, and just like I felt like that was. I mean, a lot of people talk about the car scene, but for me, that scene was like the standout moment.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and you can say what you feel about Tom Holland in a second, but I just feel like I gotta say this. And I'm so tired of hearing this. I'm so tired of hearing about how why Tom Holland's great is because he looks like a high schooler. Well, that has nothing to do with his performance. So
right.
I almost feel like that's a little disservice. It's just like, yes, we get it. He looks like a high schooler. Are you saying Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield were bad because they didn't look like high schoolers? No, he gave a great performance. I hear people say that. I'm so sick of that stupid explanation. I feel like it's a disservice to him.
I do agree that that's a stupid explanation, but I do think that they did a better job of portraying high school than the other Spider-Mans. But we can get into that more. Like, I mean, they did a better job at making it feel like it's actually some kids instead of adults playing kids.
Well, maybe like elementary school kids, but
yeah, I mean, as I'm getting super old at 24, I'm obviously not that old, but having high school, I mean, you know, it's not like high school kids, like they're high school kids.
Well, they have pretty juvenile humor, but
high school kids have pretty juvenile humor, but
not
yeah,
like
it doesn't necessarily. I can get how it wouldn't necessarily translate well into a movie. Like sometimes I actually disagree with being overly realistic in movies. Like sometimes, like if there's dialogue in a movie when someone's like, well, no one would actually say something like that in real life, but it's like I suspend my disbelief for certain dialogue, so I could understand if you think that it doesn't translate well into a Spider-Man movie. I do feel like they act more like nerdy high schoolers.
I feel like, I don't know, maybe because I felt it was too jokey.
Yeah.
Like the gym teacher kind of just like, hey, come back.
He's actually Hannibal Buress, who's the gym teacher, is actually like my favorite stand-up comedian of all time. So I'm a little biased towards him because of that.
I'm not saying it was a bad performance.
To me, it felt like a cameo performance because he kind of is almost like he's kind of playing an exaggerated form of himself in it. So
I feel like there were only 2 bad performances in the movie, and I'll get to that later. But I feel like most of the problems, like about being unfunny, I feel like most of the problems are from the script, not the performances.
Right.
I feel it's a garbage script. So did you say your thoughts on Tom Holland's performance?
I think his performance was basically the best part about the movie, I think.
Yes.
And I think I like him more than Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man, and he's... I'd have to think... I like Tobey Maguire as Spider-Man the best, I think. There's definitely some nostalgia fueling that. I would have to think about it more to say which Spider-Man I truly love the most, but like he put himself in the ranks. He's a great Spider-Man.
Yeah. I don't know if I can say he's my favorite, just... And look, he's in my opinion, a terrible movie, but I almost feel like you can't rank... I can't rank the Spider-Man actors. I think they're all...
I didn't want to, but I was just trying to exaggerate how well I think he did.
And I felt like he elevated the scenes that he was in, and I almost feel like the movie could somehow... I know it may not seem possible, but somehow have been worse if he wasn't Spider-Man. Like, if they got in... I feel like his performance made the movie better because of how great an actor he was, where if you got in... Even, like... a little guy who's even a little bit not as good would have fell flat.
Yeah. It was definitely. I could see how if you don't like the script, the performances were actually very good, and yeah, I think that they were. I do, even though I don't. mind, I can. Yeah, I think the I don't love the script or anything. I just think the performances were really the movie to me. So, yeah. Is that all?
About Tom Holland.
Yeah. So, the first thing I wrote here.
So, is this kind of like a random order?
It is a bit.
Okay.
I just kind of, it was my first reactions bulleted. So.
Oh, by the way, if yours is like a really short thing, then you can combine them.
Oh, okay. Well, I have.
Like if you have like a short thought.
I basically wrote that I liked that he didn't use the suit. I liked that he didn't use the suit in the third act. Like, he didn't just miraculously get it back at the end.
Well, he does get it back at the end.
What I mean is during the actual climactic scene.
Yeah. I feel like the third act for me is like the best part of the movie, and part of it is because of Vulture, and like the biggest part is because he's just a normal Spider-Man suit.
Yeah, so I think basically that was my initial reaction, but I think more in depth what I thought was really good. And we'll probably get into this more, and I think it's another bullet on here, but I didn't care for, and I think you really didn't care for, the talking suit.
Yes.
And while I didn't care for it, the subversion of it made it up for me personally. Like, the fact that they introduced this crazy technology that he was trying to rely on, it backfired against him, and then at the end it was taken away. And I thought, like, the entire lesson of the movie was that he didn't need his suit to be a hero. Like, it's the most famous line from this movie, probably, when Iron Man says, if you're nothing without the suit, then you shouldn't have it. And he actually solved, and he saved the day with not having the suit, thereby, I think, earning the suit. But I do see how it's a little cheap that he does get the suit in the end.
Yeah.
But in a way, I feel like he earned the suit. Like, although it would be really cool to see a future Spider-Man movie where he just has to be Spider-Man, not having a high-tech suit. But I liked that a lot. I liked that they actually followed through there. They actually made a very, very satisfying third act, and that was part of the reason that part was so satisfying. I think that's all I really had to say about that. As far as my first point goes, is that, and I think in general we can say, the third act was probably the best part of it.
Yeah, the third act by far was my favorite part. I thought Act 2 was like the worst, starting with the Washington DC stuff, finishing with the ferry. So for me, the third act was like, oh, it finally feels like Spider-Man, and then it got undone. It felt like we were building this arc how he doesn't need the suit, and then it's just like it didn't matter in the end because he still gets the Iron Man suit, and you know he's gonna use Karen again, and you know he's gonna have problems.
I don't know if they will. I mean,
I would have.
It's a little.
It would have been better.
They might do it mildly. I think
it would have been better if they had if you had seen it was disabled.
Yeah.
But I feel like they're going to do it because they want cheap laughs again.
Yeah, come to think of it, I bet that I think I could see them doing it again, but I bet that they would use it sparingly because, I mean, hopefully they would use it sparingly because it was a plot point in this movie. It's not going to be a plot point in other movies.
I want to think like you do. I want to, but I don't. I think it's going to be super robotic again. Plus, we see, and we'll talk about Avengers: Infinity War, but we see like he'll have an even more Iron Man suit in the next movie. So it kind of felt like.
Wasn't that one of the most negatively reacted things in the movie, though? So maybe they will listen.
Even fans who liked the movie or loved it didn't like the suit. I mean, some people were just like, this is a way for him to have his interior monologue like in the comics. And it's just like, well, Tobey Maguire had that. You just have it over his face.
Yeah.
Just don't... Yeah. I hated the suit with a passion. Which we'll get into.
The thing I have to say is that, like, I actually did kind of like I didn't mind necessarily, you probably completely disagree with this, but I didn't necessarily mind like the dialogue or like the internal monologue that was happening, but I did dislike the plot point. That was the part I disliked, was why are they using an entire chunk of this movie to have Spider-Man talk to a robot suit?
I felt like it was just done to be funny. Like the kill, what was it? Kill mode. Like, Peter, you want me to activate kill mode? Like, it felt like it was just for jokes.
I mean, I think that they were trying to make him like realize that he can't rely on a high-tech suit and that or that he's in over his head and that he doesn't know everything.
Yeah, that felt like the arc, but then it gets like, what was the point if he's gonna have it again?
I think it went on too long was my biggest complaint. Like, if they could have showed that he was in over his head in the suit, and the suit was backfiring on him because he didn't know how to use it. They could have done that much shorter. But yeah, you can move on to your points.
All right. So when we found out that the Vulture was going to be the villain, I'll be honest, I was a little disappointed because remember Vulture from the comics?
Yeah.
He's not one of the most exciting villains, but I was like, okay, I'll go with it. Mm-hmm. Then they cast Michael Keaton as the Vulture, and on one hand I was like, okay, great actor. On the other hand, I was like, I'm a little worried I'll see him as Batman.
Yeah.
But I thought he did a great job playing the character, and he did such a good job that when I see him, I don't think of Batman.
Yeah.
Which was such a great... shows how great of an actor Michael Keaton is that I don't think of him from another role. Like, there's some actors who play the same role over and over and over, but this showed how great he was, and I think that this villain is... one of the best performances for a villain, and just in general, one of the best villains in the Marvel Cinematic Universe as a whole.
Yeah, I think, and I'll add to this, and I'm pretty sick of just super CGI'd villains, or just like fighting a giant CGI monster, or villains like that, where I like a character villain. Like, I like a villain that seem like that's really the kind of villain I like, that's one reason I like I like the Joker because, as theoretically, just like if I hear, like, for example, if there's gonna be a new Batman movie and the villain is like, just say it's completely everything's rebooted, just for this hypothetical, and I hear
it's not gonna be hypothetical.
Yeah, I know, but just for my argument, like if I hear there's gonna be a new Batman movie and I hear the villain's gonna be a Joker, I'm like, he's not going to be a CGI'd mess. It's going to have to be a great actor who's great at acting as a great character. And, I mean, even though with the Vulture, you got the big wings and he's flying through the air, for the most part, he has to be a guy who is the Vulture. Like, I mean, that he's the villain and he's a guy. Like, he has to act that. So I prefer that type of villain vastly over the very, very over-the-top villains, the mess of sci-fi and CGI that a lot of superhero movies have now. So yeah, I liked all the choices about the villain in this.
Also, unlike kind of like some other villains, Vulture had some really good motivation.
Yeah,
for being a villain. It was like... I hear this a lot, so it's a cliche, but the best kind of villain is one who doesn't think they're a villain.
Yeah, absolutely, and because that's basically what is real. That's basically if there's a real person in real life who you would describe as a villain, they don't think they're a villain.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So I did find it a little ironic how the writers talked about how they want this movie to be so different. This is, I think, a good thing. Also, I liked how they made Vulture Liz's dad.
Yeah.
I felt like that even made him like a more interesting thing, is because he wants to... he has more of a connection to Peter.
Yeah.
But I did find it a little ironic how they keep on talking about, the writers talked about, this Spider-Man is going to be so different. We don't want to be anything like previous Spider-Man movies, yet the villain is someone's dad.
Yeah. Oh, right. Right.
Daddy issues in the Spider-Man universe.
I don't know if this is if I don't know if this is one segment where you thought the comedy worked, but I personally really liked the awkward car ride. It was almost like Office type of very awkward, don't know what to do humor, where Vulture was driving.
I didn't find that humorous. I felt like dramatic tension right then, but
I only saw it once, but off the top of my head, apparently I'm remembering that there was like awkward tension, that it felt a little like the way that Spider-Man was responding was a little like awkward humor. We
view that so differently.
I don't know, maybe that is how strongly...
I view it as one of the most tense moments in the movie.
I mean, yeah, it was tense. I think things... This is kind of one reason why I'm so accepting of humor, is because I think things can be tense and funny at the same time without distracting from each other.
Okay.
But I don't know. I think maybe that's how geared I was to thinking I was watching a comedy.
Yeah, I do that so differently. I'm just like Peter is like terrified, like, oh my god, this guy. And it was really cool to see him kind of piece together how he was Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Like, I know there's some people who thought that was kind of like a little too easy, but it did make sense how he was able to figure it out.
Yeah. I remembered something funny just about my first viewing that I just remembered that I was like kind of complaining about in my head, and I almost wrote as a note, but it was so stupid because I was watching it on my laptop, and I have this thing on my laptop where when it's late at night, the screen dims and turns kind of orangey, like very orange, to like ease your eyes, so it doesn't hurt your eyes at night. And I forgot to turn it off when I was watching the movie, and why is it so orange? I was like, why is everything is the whole thing at like an orange sunset?
You find out Thanos is like creating a supernova around the Earth.
Yeah, the whole time now it's nighttime and it's still super orange. Like I found out in like the last 20 minutes or something.
Did you hear that? Remember how Tommy was so... For the Disaster Artist, he talked about one complaint was because of the light. It turned out it was because he was wearing the sunglasses.
Oh man, yeah.
I still need to see the Disaster Artist.
Yeah, I want to see it again. I borderline want to read the book to see if there's any other funny stuff. So crazy, but anyway.
That's pretty much why I have.
For some reason I thought that was my point, but I didn't even say my point. Okay. I found a negative for my next one. The very beginning, the slow intro leading, the filmed by Peter segment on like the fake iPhone segment, to me was probably the worst part of the entire movie, and the least fun. Like, I guess that's really all I had to say was that. And honestly, we'll get to it, but it was my least favorite part of Justice League 2. I just don't get like the very weak trying to connect. Like, look, the superheroes, they're just like they're around smartphones too. I don't know, like I feel like technology that we use like in our world should be used sparingly and not just to try and vaguely connect it to our world. So I thought that was really stupid, and I wish that movies would avoid having that kind of vague connection to our world. I don't know. And it's the least humorous scene, and I was glad that it got better from there to me. But
so I liked how it called back Civil War, and we kind of saw more what Peter did during Civil War, because Civil War I think is the best MCU movie, which I will say multiple times.
Yeah.
So for all those people who are just like, you DC loving Marvel hater, go ahead and embarrass yourself, son. But I liked how it called back
And I haven't seen Civil War, so I don't know the
But I
comeback.
hated how it was Peter filming it.
Yeah.
It felt like, once again, it was just done to be funny. Like, why are you talking that voice? Oh, because it's fun.
Yeah.
And then I'm just like, dude, secret identity. Like, someone could find that and upload that to the internet. Like,
Yeah.
for a guy who was just so concerned about secret identity, anyone can find that stupid tape.
Yeah.
I mean, well, it's probably a phone. Although it did look the little square made it look old.
I have no idea.
Anyway, that is such an unimportant detail about if it was a tape or on the phone.
I'm pretty sure they're trying to make it like, oh, he's recording on his smartphone, but they probably, they didn't actually record it on a smartphone, so they probably, I don't know.
But yeah, I mean, seriously, for a guy who is so protective over secret identity, especially from his Aunt May, who for some reason he can't call Aunt, for someone so protective over that, he is just like, here is a way to blackmail you, Peter. So, logically, that did not make any sense at all.
Yeah. To me, it got better from there, though, so... But yeah, I don't have much to say about that. It was just a little point, so...
So I have two, because one thing is real small. One of the things people always look forward to in Marvel movies is the Stan Lee cameo. And I thought that the Stan Lee cameo was great. One of the few funny moments in the movie. Don't make me come down there, you punk. So that was fun to see. Yeah, that was basically all I had. Did you have anything to say about the cameo?
That's interesting, because my next point was also about smaller roles, because... I loved the I really loved the Captain America segments, the tape from the gym teacher.
Captain America was my favorite character in the movie, which is reversed from Civil War.
Yeah.
So, and by the way, the best Marvel post-credit scene ever.
Yeah.
Yes, it was awesome.
Yeah. But yeah, and then, like, I also, again, I said I was very biased because he's, like, my favorite stand-up comedian, but I love Hannibal Buress as the gym teacher, the very deadpan gym teacher, just as a minor character. And then Donald Glover's character was...
Aaron Davis.
Yeah, was one of the... To me, that was one of the funnier scenes, partly because I think Donald Glover is very funny, but I don't remember the movie
The
very
scene
well.
with the voice changer?
I don't think that's the one. He was in two scenes, right? One of them.
I know he's in at least two.
What happened during the trunk scene?
The trunk scene.
The trunk scene.
This thing that webs him to the car?
Yeah.
It was the voice changer.
I don't remember a voice changer.
Remember?
Oh, right.
Oh
Yeah,
my God, that was so stupid.
He made his voice all low.
That was
right.
so stupid.
See, I wrote that I liked that scene, but I didn't remember what the scene was.
Oh my God. Do you know who he is?
No.
He's Miles Morales' uncle.
Oh.
So when he says, I have a nephew here...
Oh, okay. No, I did. When I watched it, I caught that. I was like, oh, that must be Miles. Okay. Yeah, I did catch that, actually. I probably should have...
a little heartbroken that means that Miles and Peter are in the same universe, so then we can't get Spider-Man. But maybe that means that they'll introduce Miles and... I don't even know if they... Would they introduce Miles in it? That's a topic for a whole nother thing.
Oh, yeah, and I also had on here... This is something that you ruined for me, but I wrote that... I
ruined for you.
I wrote... I could see someone not liking her, but I liked the MJ character. And part of the reason was because I thought, like... It was actually like, oh, she was MJ, but then you kind of said she actually wasn't. Like, it was just
should we get
weird...
into this now? The MJ thing.
Sure.
Okay, so I hated Michelle. Didn't think she was funny at all. Thought she was one of the bad performances from the movie. It felt, once again, just being funny. She could have easily been cut out. Okay, so the MJ reference.
Yeah.
Does not mean that she's Mary Jane Watson. I have a bunch of things. She's not Mary Jane Watson. Kevin Feige has said in an interview, this is his quote, okay? So I'm not making this up, this is exactly what he said. In setting up this will be a very different thing, she's not Mary Jane Watson. That's not who the character is. But giving her the initials that remind you of that dynamic certainly is intriguing about what could go forward. So it means she's not Mary Jane, So, and it'd be weird, like, why would she suddenly change her name from Michelle to Mary Jane unless she's in the witness protection program?
Yeah,
And
I didn't get it at all once you told me that.
and while this is a stupid gag, it shows that in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, well, it looks like it's pointing to Mary Jane Watson doesn't exist.
Yeah.
One of the most important characters in the Spider-Man franchise doesn't even exist.
I'm okay with them retconning.
No, it is stupid. It is so stupid.
No, I'm okay with them just going like, okay, here's a different person. They're Mary Jane now.
Oh,
Like, I'm okay with them just forgetting
well, maybe
that.
they could always say Mary Jane is a stage name.
Mhm.
But I doubt it. This is because they said specifically it's not supposed to be Mary Jane. And it kind of makes me worry that the movies are going to do what the comics have done the last 10 years. As I said, Marvel Comics now are completely terrible. It's why their sales are the worst in 15 years. Even Marvel Cinematic Universe fans will be like, yeah, the comics are crap. Although they do have a new editor-in-chief, so maybe they can redeem it. But one of the things Marvel doesn't want is they don't want Peter with Mary Jane because they feel it makes Peter too old. And instead of being smart and rebooting, because we had, 40 years of character development, where Peter went from high schooler to married and being like a teacher as old high school. Instead of continuing that character development, they decide we're going to undo the marriage. We're going to turn Peter into a pathetic 20-year-old man-child who doesn't ever grow up. It's stupid. It's why I don't read the terrible comics anymore. Oh, Spider-Man was great. Spider-Man 2 I finished. It was so good. But unfortunately the writer's leaving for DC. So I felt it was such a terrible way to spit on one of the most important characters in the Spider-Man franchise.
Yeah.
She doesn't exist.
Yeah, another thing that kind of helps me to enjoy things, I think, is I kind of don't believe in, like, the sanctity of characters that much. I just kind of like to look at everything as its own, like, unique.
I feel like if you want to do it, go make a movie about a new character. But when you are given the keys, it is your job to stay true. You can have your vision, but you have to stay true to the root and core of the character. If you're not going to do it, you shouldn't be making a movie in this franchise.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that. I often just like to see, like, experimentation, but yeah, like I said, I did think that this particular choice was dumb, and I was kind of surprised when you told me. But yeah, I guess you can get into your following point.
All right. So usually when I watch a solo movie, I want it to be as standalone as possible.
Yeah.
Like, let's say there was a Batman movie and a DC Cinematic Universe that's not failing. I don't want the Flash or Cyborg to show up in the movie.
Yeah.
I want it to be as standalone as possible. But for this movie, because people have been waiting at the time, well, Civil War, between Iron Man and Civil War, people went 8 years. Well, I mean, never mind. As I say that doesn't make... People have been waiting since the first Avengers movie for Spider-Man to be with these other characters. So it does make sense to kind of, like, a little incentive. Here's another extra crossover for this first movie.
Yeah.
So I felt that they did a great job with Iron Man. And I felt like of all the characters Peter could mentor him, Iron Man is one that made the most sense. Like, it kind of reminded me of the Ultimate Spider-Man comics, which apparently this movie's based on, although I don't see it. Because the Ultimate Spider-Man comics are great.
Yeah.
And I felt it had a great balance of not having too much Iron Man and not having too little. It felt like the perfect amount.
It's interesting. My next point was the exact same thing.
And I didn't think about this until now. I like how Iron Man didn't show up in the climax.
Yeah, actually, that's funny. My exact next point was exactly the same thing. I expected Iron Man to be in it more, and I was okay with the amount he was in it. When hearing about this movie, that was like my immediate complaint, I guess, about it is I want a Spider-Man movie. I don't need all these crossovers and everything. I can just have a Spider-Man movie, but it turned out to be maybe perhaps even one of the better things about the movie, except for the beginning segment. But a lot of times when Iron Man showed up, there was a lot better dialogue and the more serious moments almost. Well, I'm mostly just thinking of the more famous scene around the middle when he actually does show up in the suit. But yeah, and that he didn't show up at the end. It adds into my satisfaction with the ending, with how at the end I kept expecting something to happen, like he'd get the suit back somehow, or Iron Man would swoop in to save the day, and it would just feel like, then what was the whole lesson? And I expected that to happen so much, and it didn't. So I was really satisfied that they didn't, because especially if it's a solo movie, to me the point is kind of to see that hero save the day. So if they're saving the day with the help from another hero, it feels more like a crossover movie than a solo movie. So that was satisfying.
I liked it, but I don't like hearing about how in the next Spider-Man movie they'll have probably another Avenger in there.
I don't. I'm not begging for crossovers. I'd love if they
like
just stuck.
For a standalone movie, I want it to be as standalone as possible. Like, here's what. If they want to like put in little Easter eggs, like one example from the DC television universe is that mostly they're as standalone as possible. Like you have your yearly crossover, but like it's different if like there was a scene in like the Flash TV show where they're at like a waiting room and they see like Oliver Queen on the cover of a magazine. That's different. Like if you had like Tony Stark like on a magazine cover, but I don't want like the movie. I don't want Captain America or someone having Iron Man's role in Spider-Man 2.
Yeah.
I'd like it to be solo, a Spider-Man story.
Yeah, I mean these superhero. I mean a lot of the cool aspects of superhero movies is that it's this one special person, like being able to help everybody.
And I also feel like of all the Marvel characters, Spider-Man is the one that doesn't need other characters.
Yeah, like and that's what I'm really I'm hoping that this movie is a good setup for an even better movie. And yeah, I hope so. I hope it feels like a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man movie, but I don't know.
Yeah.
So, I mean, since I kind of had the same point, I guess you can go to another one.
All right, so here's a little quick comic book reference. We see the Tinkers in this movie. You know the Tinker.
Yeah.
He and Vulture first appeared in Amazing Spider-Man issue 2. Remember Vulture had the first story and then Tinker had the second story?
Yeah.
That was a little bit quick thing. Now, remember how positive I was? Go on! It's over!
It's funny because this hasn't been that positive.
Well, you thought, roll up your sleeves, kids. It's gonna get rough. So, what I didn't like. The script is absolute garbage. It is a horrible script. It clearly has no idea of who the character is and is painfully stupid and unfunny with childish juvenile humor. It felt like the main writers who kind of like developed the plot, Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daley, who also wrote and directed that horrible vacation movie that starred Ed Helms. Have you had the displeasure seeing that movie?
What is it called? Do you know what it's called?
Vacation?
That movie. No, I haven't seen it.
Oh, consider yourself lucky. It is really bad, and I think that those two writers deserve the most blame for why, in my opinion, this movie is so terrible. I don't understand how Marvel can literally do a great job adapting every other character except for their most famous one. Like, seriously, you look at Iron Man, Captain America, Hulk, Thor, all of them. They all stay true to who the character is, but the one they can't is Spider-Man. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know why. So, yeah, my first negative thing is the script is absolutely horrible. It's garbage. With a script like this, the movie was doomed to be terrible. So, thoughts on the script?
I didn't have very... Like, I don't want to say, like, oh, I found it so funny. Like, oh, it's so genius humor. Like, I don't think that at all.
It's not a Greg Daniels.
It wasn't offensively... Yeah. nothing is a great day in this comedy script. No, it wasn't offensively bad to me. Like, I didn't come out of it and think, like, geez, the dialogue, like, in the script was just awful. Like, that just didn't exactly resonate with me.
For me, I felt the humor was so childish. Like, it felt like the humor was for people aged 10 and under. That's just how I felt.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes you do have to consider that sometimes they are writing it for children, though.
Still, I mean...
Yeah.
The kids from It, who are clearly... What grade are they in?
In that, they're in, like, 6th grade.
So they were more clever, and...
That was a script written for adults, though.
But still, you didn't, like, dumb it down because they were kids. You can still write it for adults and make it... Pull a Pixar. Make it for everyone, but appropriate for kids to also see.
Yeah, I mean, you're not exactly saying anything I disagree with, because it's hard for me to disagree with the It script being better. because
remind people what your favorite movie of 2017 was.
The script of It was my favorite movie, because that's the best part about it. Yes.
And you read the book.
It is actually my favorite comedy of 2017 as well. But yeah, I read the book.
I remember you said another Stephen King was your favorite. Did you ever read the book for that?
The Gerald's Game, that was in my top 10 too. I haven't read that book.
Do you ever plan to, or?
I might. I'm starting to try and plow through some Stephen King books, since I just discovered that there is a movie I like based on one of his books. I've only read 2 so far, though, the other one being Carrie.
Are they long? Like you said, it was 1,000 pages.
Carrie isn't, and I know that Gerald's Game I don't believe is either, but it is very long. Like, even just amongst books in general, it is like one of the longest books.
Is it like 1,000?
About 1,200 or something.
Wow.
It's crazy. It took me a month, and I read it a lot during that month. Yeah. That's a great script.
Yes.
So you hated the script with a passion?
The script, there was no way to go but down.
Yeah,
if I want to have a little bit of hope, those two, I think, are confirmed not to come back for the sequel.
Oh, the same people who wrote that script? Okay.
Who did, like, the main story, so if you want a little hope.
I'd like to see I think they were going for kind of a style of they tried to make this super high school movie, and even the poster, he's wearing a Letterman jacket. Like, they were clearly trying to go for this super high school thing, and maybe you think they completely failed and wrote really, like, they failed at making high schoolers or something.
I felt like they made, like, at best middle schoolers.
Too juvenile of high schoolers. They were weren't they freshmen?
No, they're sophomores.
Okay. Big difference. No, no. But,
I think it's supposed to be like the trilogy would culminate with his graduation.
Okay. Yeah, maybe they'll... I would hope so, too. Hopefully they'll do a little bit more mature humor, but again, like, it's the audience is a question, because as much as the fact that there is a big adult
Iron Man and Avengers were not as stupid as this movie.
Right. But yeah, I guess what I was gonna say is that I can't imagine. I hope they don't go for the same style for a next movie. Even though I didn't mind this style, I would mostly just because I'd like to see something different. But I do think that that's what they were going for, and why it seems kind of juvenile is because they were trying to really hammer in the high school, which I thought they did a decent job at, because of maybe I have a lower opinion of high schoolers than you.
Just like, go ahead, tell high schoolers how much you hate them.
No, if I was a fantastic high schooler, I wouldn't have. No, I'm not that narcissistic. We can move on. I don't really have many other.
Oh my God!
Like, well, the reason why is because you already covered a lot of my same points.
Yeah.
So there isn't much else for me to say. Gosh, let me see if I can pick out something else that I said at all.
I mean, I have like some that are repeated that you said, but some of my notes are kind of jogging my memory a little bit.
I generally thought, like, forget the dialogue of of these and like, but the actual way the choices during the action sequences I thought were very exciting. Like they kind of like they could be annoying with the suit stuff, but
are you talking about the Washington Monument or the ferry?
I think with both of those all of the action sequences, like the very heavy action sequences, I thought they made very exciting. Like if you're just looking at it from what was happening in the action standpoint, and not him communicating with the suit or something. But I mean, I found like the ferry splitting down the middle and him having to like desperately try and reconnect it back together was kind of an exciting moment.
The fact that the suit did so much took me out of it. Like I couldn't
true.
enjoy it. I was just like, what are we doing? Like what are you? Why is this suit doing everything?
He did have an enormous struggle figuring out, like he had to battle against it almost.
Well, I couldn't like get into it. Like I was like it took me out. So I wasn't thinking like, is Spider-Man gonna save him? I was like, what are we doing, guys?
Oh, that's true. But like, I mean, I was kind of into like, oh god, he has this suit he can't figure out, and now he has to save the day, and he can't even figure out the stupid suit. Like it's kind of an extra tension to it, which I didn't. Which I guess I liked, but I guess I wasn't taken out of it, and I was mostly just thinking of the action sequences as it was coming. I mean, I also thought it was during the Washington Monument scene. I thought it was like when he was trying to bash through the window. That was exciting. I don't know. That's really my final point. Really, is that I thought the action sequences were successfully exciting.
So we talked a lot about the suit, the Iron Man type suit.
Yeah.
The thing I hate the most about this movie, and there are a lot, although the comedy is like so close, but yet the suit is the biggest thing. So in this movie, it took away who Spider-Man is. Spider-Man is not supposed to have X-ray vision, or electrical web shooters, or a voice changer, or a stupid voice in his head telling him what he was supposed to do. Not only was it not Spider-Man, but it made him less interesting. And like when you look at it like the Spider-Man franchise, part of the fun of the character is having him figuring out things on his own and not just relying on a computer. And once again, I've said so many times, it felt like we were building this arc of you don't need the robot suit, and yet it just having him at the end kind of makes it feel like a waste.
Yeah, and I kind of agree with that, but I guess I am also able to look at it as like the ride, like getting there was. I guess I'm kind of ignoring the end. Like I don't want to think about.
You just want to edit it out.
I want to. I actually. That was my second least favorite part. The beginning and the end. If we would chop those out, it would be.
You want to be like Michael in The Office, where you have that breakfast sandwich. You just want to take out the top and the bottom and say, "Hey, look, it's healthy."
And less carbs.
Yes.
Yeah. If we chop those out, the movie would be better to me. But so there was a comment I had while you were saying it that I forgot. The suit, like I said, okay, that's what I was gonna say. It's very hard to do, but I've tried to train myself to look at new things as a proper new thing. And not to go, this isn't what Spider-Man is supposed to be. Spider-Man isn't supposed to have a high-tech suit. Spider-Man shouldn't be messing with a high-tech suit. And so I kind of was like, there is a genuine tension that they presented of him being excited to have this super cool high-tech suit, as someone maybe would. That's relatable. But he's in way over his head. Like he can't figure the stupid thing out, and even though I feel like it went on way too long, and I almost wish the suit would have been taken away sooner or something, and so he would have to deal with being a hero without it. I thought it was very satisfying the way they subverted the suit, and then they
they
went back. But
I'll probably say a lot, but I feel like when you're given the keys to a franchise, you can do your own take, but you have to stay to the root and core of the character.
yeah,
Like, had you just done this movie and about if you wanted to do a story like this and create a new character, then it just would have been a bad movie. But now it's a bad Spider-Man movie.
yeah. But again, here's something. Again, I'll have to chop off the end to even make this argument, but I would say the core of the character that they kept is that Spider-Man is most concerned with helping his neighborhood.
I disagree in this film.
That isn't what he's doing.
Yep.
Well, he is at the Washington Monument at one point, so...
Well, yeah, you're right. He abandoned his neighborhood. Like, guys, I'm out here. I'm going to the big time.
I mean, yeah, he was so concerned with, like, he was being denied the allowance to, no one was helping him with this neighborhood problem because the Avengers felt they had bigger problems, right? That was kind of the idea, or they didn't believe him or something.
I don't know why the Avengers are broken up right now, so...
Yeah, but he kept calling them for help, though, right? So I don't know.
Yeah.
But, so then he had to deal with it himself. He had to be the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man, and like he felt like his neighborhood was in danger, and he had to...
I felt like all he cared about was being an Avenger. Even once he saves him, he's just like, "Hey guys, can I be an Avenger?" Like that was his main goal.
Chunk the end back on for a second. Isn't that kind of what was subverted then at the end?
Well, it's a little bit like
character growth.
He's taking his first steps.
Yeah, it's a whole movie to have the first step of character growth, which I don't think is an entirely bad thing. I think they were trying to show that he only cares, he wants to be an Avenger so bad, but he had to learn that, there's something more important than that.
Still, it was a little bit like, yeah, great power, great responsibility, I want to be an Avenger! So much to the fact that it made it look like he gave up being Spider-Man once the Avengers thing was kind of denied to him, when Stark took the suit away.
Yeah,
That's... What wonderful responsibility with such great power. Uncle Ben would lovingly turn over in his grave.
He probably really felt like he was useless without the suit. Like, he probably really...
You have spider powers!
Yeah, I know, but then at the end, he...
But we see in Civil War, he was doing stuff even without the suit. There was no reason for him to just be like, "I'm done, guys. It was a fun ride, fun 8 months, but
yeah,
gotta give it up."
Yeah, I should probably see Civil War so I can see how Spider-Man is portrayed in that.
I still wonder how you would have... feel like they ruined so much potential from Civil War because I have such different reactions to what is supposed to be the same character, but I feel they are completely different.
Yeah. This was my first Spider-Man experience since Amazing Spider-Man 2, so I believe so. And personally, I prefer this to that, so I came out of it.
I think this is the worst Spider-Man movie. Like, even I think it's a horrible made movie.
I don't think that there are some objective things in movie critique that you can kind of point at. I would say big ones are lighting, cinematography, and editing. And I wouldn't say any of those were bad. I don't know about those things very well to critique them, but I do notice some terrible editing sometimes. Or one thing I notice a lot, which I love to look for, is bad ADR. When they have to mouth over later.
Yeah.
I love noticing terrible ADR because after taking audio production classes, I notice it sticks out so much to me now, and it makes me laugh. And I didn't notice any bad ADR, but of course he has his mouth covered.
Yeah.
So it's easy. But,
Well, you can always look at the chin and...
yeah.
So, are you allowed points?
I'm basically, I don't, yeah, we could, my points were so basic, I guess, that you already covered. We had a lot of the same points.
Well, guys, this review just turned into a rant. All right, so here's another thing. So I decided to punish myself and try to rewatch this movie yesterday, and I got a half hour into it where I decided life is too short to watch this movie. Another thing that goes against the Spider-Man franchise is how Peter doesn't care about school at all and only wants to be an Avenger. And a total un-Peter Parker thing is to have him think about dropping out of school just because he's like, well, I'll eventually be an Avenger. And, you know, when you look at the Spider-Man franchise, with all the stuff that goes on in Peter's life, school and specifically science is a way for him to escape like his problems, and eventually he's able to like use it with his Spider-Man figuring out like different gadgets or like figuring out what to do. Like I think maybe if he had thought about it, he could have cracked the window in the washing machine the first time if he'd actually like, oh, look at the direction, diameter, But what do you think about the very un-Peter Parker-like thing about how he just like, yep, I want to drop out of school. Like, he even tells that guy who wants to get with Aunt May, one of the many. That was so unfunny. I thought George Costanza was going to come up at one time.
You know, I actually do have to say, I really hate humor that is like, oh, someone's attractive, and the joke is that someone's hitting on them. Like, I think that is one of the stupidest types of humor. And I especially feel that way because if we end up doing a you know how you had worst movies you've seen,
Yeah.
I have one this year already, which was
Wait, we are only 12 days in 2018.
I saw a movie.
Let us know
that and I previously said that I never had a movie that I felt like I disliked when I saw. It wasn't
This
like,
was in theaters.
Yeah, it wasn't like the worst movie ever, but it was Insidious: The Last Key, the fourth Insidious movie.
I think I saw TV commercials for it.
It was one of the only times where I was actually like, the comedy is not working in this. It was so... And the thing was that I would say that was the worst part about it, really, was how bad the comedy was in it. I didn't think it was an absolutely abysmal movie, but I wanted it to end. But the humor was so bad because they used the same joke over and over. It was like the only humor in the entire movie was someone was attractive and they were hitting on her. And it was just, that's not funny. Like, that she's like, I'm not interested in you and you're hitting on me. It's not funny. Like, I don't, and so I almost understand your dislike for that part of the humor now more.
So, what did you think about Peter wanting to drop out of high school? Very un-Peter Parker-like thing, at least in my opinion.
That mostly delves into my my forgiveness for people to change characters a bit. I probably, if I was more hardcore into the comics and stuff, maybe I would feel it more.
Okay.
But... Yeah.
Wonderful role model for kids now.
It's sad that most of my... I really can't convince you to like this movie, because for me it's
it worse.
For me it's just...
You are making it worse and showing this is not Spider-Man. Why do I give this piece of crap a chance?
I would still argue that they are trying to show... like, the purpose of the suit is for him to realize that he needs to be that it's important to help the neighborhood and be a hero, not just because he wants to be in the Avengers. And the character development of that is the Spider-Man thing.
I almost feel like it's going a little bit too much of the Man of Steel Superman route, where it's like, eventually he'll become the character. Like, you shouldn't start out that way. He should start being the character. It would have been one thing if this had been like the second movie or something, but the fact that this is your introduction to solo Spider-Man, I felt that was such a bad decision.
Yeah, I can see that, but I don't think that this is nearly as far of a departure from the character as that Superman. So like I find
I feel like they're both equal. I feel like they're both two sides of the same coin of just like how not to do those characters.
yeah.
So, as I said, I felt the movie was way too jokey, unlike, say, the first Iron Man, The Avengers, or the Captain America trilogy. I didn't think any of it was funny. And for me, Spider-Man works best when it's a drama with comedy. And I hate this recent trend of how they flip it to where it is so jokey, it's almost like Spider-Man becomes a cartoon character. And like a specific scene that always stands out to me is how when the Vulture is going to go and well for the final battle, instead of web swinging, Spider-Man just has to steal Flash's car, and you know it was just done to be funny because hey look I can't drive, and then you can have dialogue with the horrible Ned character being like do look at me I'm looking at porn, and it was just so just like what it would have been so cool. It's almost like Superman flying. Why would you not show him web swinging? Like, the only reason is just because they want to be funny because, look, Spider-Man's young and he can't drive yet.
Yeah, true. See, the thing is, I think that humor is very important, that I would be even... to me, it would be even worth sacrificing plot points for comedy. But...
No.
If it doesn't work, like it doesn't to you... I can see how that would completely topple over on itself.
So, we've talked about Aunt May so much. I hate Aunt May. I thought of all the characters, she was the worst adapted. And Aunt May has always been the heart of the Spider-Man franchise. Someone that Peter could turn to whenever he needed, like, advice or help. And instead, they turned her into comedy relief. It felt like they really dumbed her down. And to constantly be funny, they had every guy flirt with her, even though Uncle Ben has been dead for 8 months. Which is weird. So, it never felt like she ever gave Peter any advice during the movie. Like, there's that time where after Peter loses the Stark internship, she just, like, pats him on the back or whatever, but she never gives him any advice or whatever. Like, look at... And... having Aunt May find out that he's Spider-Man at the end was done in such a stupid and such a dumb way. Like, when you look at the previous Spider-Man movies, when the audience kind of figures out that she knows he's Spider-Man, it's what I consider the best monologue ever in a superhero movie, where she talks about how there's a hero in everyone. Sometimes a hero has to give up the thing they want the most. And then even like in Spider-Man 3, after kind of, the incident with Mary Jane, she goes talk to Peter and talks about how, he's a good person and he'll do what he can to make it right. And The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I mean, it's more obvious that she knows that he's Spider-Man. And after the death of Gwen, it is that, she knows that Peter kind of stopped being Spider-Man. She kind of like gives him this little thing about how she's putting Uncle Ben's things away, and she's putting them where they belong, and that he'll always be with her, and that kind of inspires Peter to be Spider-Man again. And now, it is just, what the bleep? Like, come on, guys, seriously? You could have had such an iconic and powerful, dramatic moment, beautiful, and you'd limit it to a stupid gag because you're such horrible writers.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely not like that part is going to win any writing awards,
and we're not going to see it expanded upon because we have Infinity War in between, so it's not like it can cut right
True.
between. It's just so wasted.
Yeah, so they kind of had to have their iconic Aunt May moment in this movie if they're going to have it, since it's the first one, so I can get that. I definitely, it did feel a little to me like, almost like some like Aunt May stuff must have gotten cut somewhere. Like,
did you
seemed
hear
like there should have been more.
Did you hear about what they were going to do? If you thought this couldn't get any worse, Aunt May was going to be accidentally inappropriate, accidentally saying about how she has a ton of guys come over and what she did.
Or you're just saying that was like another scene?
That was in the script. That was supposed to happen throughout the movie.
Oh, okay.
oh my god.
Well, I mean,
It could... Just knowing that could have been that much worse.
I think that's just on par. I don't think that's
even
worse.
though her husband's only been dead for a short amount of time.
Hey, you know, it's you know, you
Grief
don't have to
makes you
pay.
do weird
You don't
things.
have to pay for grief counseling that way.
I guess so.
So, I think that would have made it better.
That awkward moment. You almost feel like George Costanza would come in. Because, you know, Seinfeld, the episode... Well, have you ever seen Seinfeld?
Like a few episodes.
There's like an episode about how George is thinking about leaving his fiance because he can get a date with Marissa Tomei, who is the actress who plays Aunt May.
Oh.
So I almost think like George could have been the one who killed Uncle Ben. Like you have a scene of Jerry and George in the coffee shop. You created Spider-Man? Oh, Jerry, I created Spider-Man! It's awful! And then Kramer walks in. No, my friend Bob Sacramento accidentally shot this millionaire couple, and this guy's a little weird with an obsession with bats. Oh, God, Jerry's everywhere. He's gonna get me!
Oh, God.
Yeah, you created Spider-Man?
It is a comedy, so they should have just thrown in...
Had that happen, maybe I would have been a little more forgiving.
Yeah.
The Seinfeld crossover. That could have been amazing.
Yeah.
So moving on, because I guess you're all done with your points. Ned. I hated Ned. I thought he was a stupid character that was never funny and was always annoying. And Ned was another one who I thought gave really bad performance, such as like when he finds out he's Spider-Man, like, is this a Stark internship? Well, Peter says, this is the Stark internship. Like, oh, like it just felt like,
Yeah.
come on, guy.
Yeah, my least favorite thing about Ned, and personally, I didn't come away from it feeling like he was in it like that much that it was like intrusive to the story.
It felt like it was Spider-Man and Ned. Those were the two leads.
Oh, yeah, I didn't come out of it thinking that, but I hated the part where he was basically like. It was in the gym, and he just shouted, like, that he knows Spider-Man.
Because it's supposed to be jokey.
It just seemed like you should stop being friends with him, because
Yes.
that was really mean, actually.
Peter, wet this guy's mouth! And, character's only there for comedic reasons. And they wanted to get Peter friends. Why not have it be Harry Osborn, Gwen Stacy, or Mary Jane? And some may say they've already done that, but as I've said earlier, that's almost like saying you're doing a new Batman movie, but don't have Commissioner Gordon or Alfred.
Yeah.
Like, it was having Ned know that Peter was Spider-Man was such a horrible decision. And part of what makes Peter's relationship with his friends more interesting is that he can't be fully honest with them about being Spider-Man.
Yeah.
And I also hated how they had, during, like, my favorite part, the last third, they ruined it by having Ned be the guy in the chair, and...
Oh, yeah.
That was horribly unfunny, and you knew when the teacher walked in, you knew that's what he was going to say, what he was doing.
The porn part?
Yes. I mean, you knew, like, how could this movie get any worse? He's going to say that. Tell me you knew, deep down, that's what he was going to say.
I mean, I guess it is kind of,
the most cliche line you could think of.
Yeah, I mean, I can see how they'd think it would be funny because you wouldn't expect someone to say that to a teacher, and it's like, oh, what he's actually doing is, quote-unquote, worse than that. Worse than admitting that to a teacher. Yeah.
So I hated the character, and even though he's named Ned, and in the Spider-Man comics there was Ned Leeds, who was a rival for Peter over Betty Brant, who we saw worked at the school TV station. They showed her name. I guess who knows if the Daily Bugle even exists, because these writers don't know anything about Spider-Man. But the characters
they probably didn't want to even touch his name.
J. Jonah Jameson.
J. Jonah Jameson.
Well, then you shouldn't be writing this movie. So, even though he's called Ned, he's clearly based on Ganke Lee from the Miles Morales Spider-Man comics. So, I think that's his name. Miles is such a new character that his friend hasn't been ever adapted, so I don't know how to say his name. I think that's how you say Ganke?
I don't know.
Whatever. So, he's not Peter Parker supporting character. He's from Miles Morales. And, you know, even in comics where Peter and Genki are in the same issue, they never share a scene together. So, I don't know why they would give Peter one of Miles' supporting characters. I guess it kind of shows that we probably won't have Miles ever show up.
Yeah.
I mean, because, you know, you probably don't want any character development. Peter having to mentor another superhero who's going to have a new name. They fixed it. Oh, Bendis, I'm going to miss you, man. They fixed my one. I had two problems. One was they killed off the ultimate Peter Parker, and then they gave Spider-Man. They named him Spider-Man, and now Miles lives in a world with the real Peter Parker who was alive and mentoring him, and now he's gonna have his own name, which is smart, because it'd be weird to call it Spider-Man Spider-Man.
Yeah.
So, God, where did I get off on that? Yeah, so they never share a scene together, even when they're in the same issue.
Yeah.
Never have they met. As far as I know, at least in the Bendis run, who was the creator of Miles Morales, they've never met.
Yeah.
So, I hate the character, and there's only two ways to deal with this character. He's killed off, or he has to leave because of Peter's secret. I want him gone, and it should be it should be done in a way to where it affects Peter, where something went wrong, to where now he's afraid of sharing his secret identity. That's what I think. I don't think he should be another one. He needs to be killed off or has to leave because of Peter's secret. So, did you say anything about Ned? You said that he's not. You didn't feel he was in it that much.
Like I totally think he is a character that I would like to have less of a presence if going further into like the series. I'd say I would be okay with him becoming a much more minor character somehow. But I it's not like I completely despised him, but I don't think, as far as the comedy, it was almost like he was supposed to be the comic relief, but it was like less funny than the other comedy in the movie. So I don't know, but it just nothing about it was there was nothing offensively bad about this movie, period, to me. Like, there was nothing that I'm just like, stupid.
I feel Ned and Michelle are the Jar Jar Binks of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So, another character horribly adapted. Because why not? If you're gonna fail on all levels. Flash Thompson was horribly adapted for this movie. And when you decide to have Flash be as smart as Peter, you're doing it wrong. That's not what the character is.
I actually think that it is very interesting to do a different type of bully than the archetype of a bully.
Then create a second bully.
Like a new character? Like,
yeah.
You think that it is that essential for the bully character to not be smart?
No, I mean Flash Thompson.
That's
his
Flash
DNA.
Thompson, that he's not smart?
Yes. It almost feels like part of what can mend their friendship is having, because eventually they do become friends, and I think a way to do that is having Peter kind of like maybe helping Flash with like his grades. But it feels like that is so essential. He's not supposed to be smart. He's supposed to be the slacker. And if you want, you could have had it been a new character. Have Flash, but then if you want someone who's like a rival to Peter for being smart, create a new character. Flash is not smart. That is not the root and core of his character.
Like, to me, bully is just kind of like you could make them become friends eventually without it being that he's like, without that plot point that he helps with these grades or something.
Well, that was just a little way I could think of.
But, like, I mean, they could realize that they're more similar than they realize, and, like, you know, be like, hey, we're both on this
But that's not who
team
Flash
there,
is! And Peter should never be the first choice over Flash. That's always part of the character, is that Here's this jerk who always gets everything, and Peter tries to be the nice guy and can't get anything.
Maybe what it. I mean, I guess it would have been interesting, maybe more if they if he was still. What if he was still smart, but everyone assumed that he was like they gave him the spot on the team and not Peter Parker.
No,
Peter
it's
Parker.
still not
Okay.
Flash Thompson.
I was just curious what you'd think about
Nope.
that, but
He's not supposed to be smart. Just like Peter's not supposed to be dumb.
yeah.
It's who they are. Robin's not supposed to be older
I
than
think
Bruce. Than Batman.
I almost think that currently there's almost a there's almost nerds among nerds. It's almost like in a pack of nerds there could be one, or a pack of smart people there could be one who they're judging their nerd cred almost
Well,
yeah, you're smart, but you're not smart like us who are
then
good at
create a
math.
new character.
Yeah.
Don't ruin another character because you're such horrible writers you can't think of a new name.
Yeah, I kind of go both ways on this, because on one, it's big deal that they use the same name. I don't have the sanctity of characters at my heart that I care about. And at the other end, it's you can have a new character. Using the same name is kind of that's one thing with Star Wars, that it's they don't have to be related. You just say
Oh God!
I'm not going to say any spoilers.
Okay.
That wasn't what I was going to
Okay.
say. What I was going to say was
My heart skipped a beat. I mean, I've seen it, but I don't know how many.
I was going to make up a thing. Well, for example, people were wondering who Snoke was, and it would be oh, there are people in the past of Star Wars like Darth Plagueis the Wise. What if he's that? And it's you just say the name. What's special about that? That he's that character.
He'd be very
Okay.
old. He'd be
But no, it's just
decrepit.
I feel like sometimes people put that he's Flash Thompson because when you hear Flash Thompson you go Spider-Man, and it's just throwing a name doesn't make it that character. So I understand that.
I never want to hear the name Penis Parker again. Once again, pathetic, childish, juvenile humor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's
You're not even gonna find out. You're just yeah.
well, no, I think I it's hard to argue against a lot of this to me. I get it, but it's it's supposed to be juvenile. I guess I feel they knew what they were doing.
Well, I guess.
I mean, they knew that it was a juvenile joke.
Okay. Also, if Flash hates Peter so much, why is he inviting him to Liz's party?
I don't necessarily. I mean, again, you could say that they should change
Just
the name
something
of
to
the
think
character, but I don't necessarily get the impression that
Usually,
everyone's-
Flash is the one saying, "Don't invite Peter."
yeah.
Yeah, why are you inviting Peter? Can we also talk about how Peter wanted to use Spider-Man as a trick? At the party?
Yeah. I mean, I guess maybe they're trying to think of I mean, a high schooler would do that, right?
But yeah, you
I
have
mean-
this responsibility, man!
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe they're this might seem offensive to fans of Spider-Man, but to kind of de-glamorize Spider-Man a bit, to that's kind of what it seems like it is almost. He's a teenager who's kind of stupid sometimes.
But when you are supposed to not just supposed to impulsively do things, you're supposed to think about things through. If he had done that, it could have put Aunt May in jeopardy, just all this stuff.
yeah, and he has to learn.
And remember, I didn't remember this part until I rewatched it yesterday. Another thing to just be Urgh! I didn't think about it. Then I was okay, a little thing. He's proud. He's Spider-Man's not a party trick. But then he still decides to go do it, and the only thing that stops him is he sees the explosion.
Right. Yeah, I think he's stupid. He was making stupid decisions that could endanger people, but I don't see that as a bad thing. I think that is part of the character growth that maybe took too long of a movie, like a chunk of a movie, for him to finally be the grown character.
I get character arc, but still, it feels like, dude, that is not something. If you are that guarded about your secret identity, you're not gonna do something that stupid.
Well, he doesn't seem that guarded about his secret. Yeah, it's a different take. It's definitely a different take on the hero. I don't know what else to say.
Peter's relationship with Liz felt completely unearned. And, well, to compare it to the comics...
I actually agree with that completely.
In the comics, did you ever get the volume 2 of the first 10?
No.
Oh, okay.
I wish I knew that existed.
They're really
when I was
good.
A child.
They're really good.
Yeah.
You can always get them digitally. So, in the comics, after Liz hears that... So, in the comics, what makes... Liz never really was into Peter. Like, he would ask her out and get rejected. But the thing that changes when she hears that Peter donned a fake Spider-Man costume to save Betty Brant from Dr. Octopus. And that makes her seem differently because, not to get too much into the storyline, but Peter had, I think he was sick, so he kind of lost his powers. So Doc Ock defeated him and unmasked him. And it's just like, well, because he didn't really have his powers, so obviously it's not Spider-Man. But they didn't have anything like that in the movie. But they should have given us something that shows why Liz kind of sees Peter in this way, or why she would think about going out with him. And it feels really random that she would just agree to go to the homecoming dance with him. So we don't have any really context. All we know is that for a little bit, maybe he was on that decathlon team.
Yeah.
But he quits the decathlon team, comes back at the last minute, and then doesn't show up for the presentation. Yet she still decides to go out with him. And what is the reason? She's just like, I know you like me, so why not? And then just... So, thoughts on
I
this
do agree that
unearned relationship?
I don't know the history of that character, so I didn't know what was going to happen. I thought it was possible. I didn't know it was going to end with him going to homecoming, despite it being called Spider-Man. Well, I knew it was going to end. I just didn't know that it was going to end with them together going to homecoming. Is what I mean. So I thought she could have rejected him. But I really did think it was like, it did seem unearned to me. It was like. What I mean, he didn't show up to the things he wanted to.
And then, after he abandons her at the dance, and now she's moving away, she's not mad at him. She's just like, well, you're going through some stuff. I hope you figure it out. Like, come on, guys. That's the most fake thing you could think of.
That's how nice she is.
Yeah,
she's the nicest person.
I don't care who you are. If someone stands you up at homecoming, you are not going to be like, I hope it all works out in the end, bud. It's just like, you jerk. Someday I'll figure out who that Spider-Man is.
I actually wish it ended like that. I wish you just would have been like, F you.
But no. So, yeah. Also, we talked about how I felt like Peter's primary focus was not great power, great responsibility. It was just... to be an Avenger. So, did you also feel like he ended up quitting being Spider-Man just because Iron Man said he can't be an Avenger now?
You mean after he took away the suit?
Yeah.
The first time? So
it never shows us that he keeps going.
I think that it was more like he genuinely felt like he couldn't do it. Like, he didn't have that self-confidence.
Now you've reminded me of something. Why is he just like, I'm nothing without the suit? Man, you got spider powers.
Yeah,
Come on, man.
Is it that bad to not have the self-confidence?
You don't need x-ray vision or the drone on your chest.
Yeah, but I think he felt like he was, like, completely unable to stop the height of what was happening without help from the suit and help from
He's
the
been
Avengers.
doing this for 6 months without that stupid suit. 6 months.
I think that this is the biggest thing he probably had to deal with. Except I didn't see Civil War. But I think that he probably saw this as the biggest thing he ever had to deal with, and he couldn't do it without help. And then he realized, like, he has to do it. He has to figure out a way to do it, and it's the right thing to do. But I think the initial reaction was that. And I don't see that as a bad thing. That his initial reaction was that I can't do this, sort of.
Okay. Well, for being part of a shared universe, boy, did this movie do a good job of contradicting the other ones. So, the movie says that the first Avengers movie took place 8 years ago. However, in Civil War, which mind you took place 2 months before Homecoming, they say that the Avengers have been around for 4 years. So,
Okay.
I'm just saying, someone should have noticed that. Happy Hogan also talks about how they are building a new shield for Captain America. But Tony and Steve aren't speaking to each other after Civil War, unless this takes place during Infinity War, but I don't think that's what it's supposed to be.
Yeah, I don't think it's not.
Because I think we see... Well, we see, like, in the Infinity War trailer, Peter kind of reacting to Thanos coming. So, obviously, this doesn't take place when Thanos is here. And
Yeah.
Thanos is what's going to bring the Avengers back together.
Yeah.
So, it didn't...
I mean, I think
They
these
even
are...
said in this movie, Captain America's a war criminal. So, why is Tony making a new shield for Cap?
I think these are you're getting into nitpicks. I really don't have...
I'm just saying. But here's, I feel, such a big thing. Remember Pepper Potts?
Who?
Pepper Potts.
Pepper Potts?
At the very end,
Pepper Potts?
Tony's girlfriend.
Yeah.
She
I haven't
comes
seen it
in.
in a while. I just
She
remember.
comes in and is so happy with Tony. Yet in the previous movie, 2 months ago, they said that they weren't going to make it and they're not seeing each other. That is such a big plot point to just skip over.
That's true.
I mean, these were just like,
I'm
notice.
chopping the end off of my memory. For all
But I think even you will agree that's a big plot point to skip over.
it's bigger than the others. for
Yes. I mean, the first two were kind of jokes.
sure. Yeah.
So, unlike every other version of Spider-Man, it felt like everyone in New York just automatically loved Spider-Man. Like, the annoying guy was just like, "Hey, Spider-Man, do a flip!" Or, the fairy guy who cries out, "Yeah, Spider-Man!" Did he show up in our scene?
I think so.
I swear it was two awful scenes.
You're describing like one of my favorite things about the movie. I want everyone to love Spider-Man.
No, that's not what it's supposed to be. People are supposed to hate Spider-Man in this movie. Now that he's in the MCU, they have a reason. How cool would it have been if Spider-Man is blamed because of the actions of the Avengers? Yeah, everyone
true.
loves the Avengers. That could have been so interesting.
As a plot point within the MCU, I would agree that maybe they should be more consistent with that. I can see that. But if I look at it in a bubble, it's very refreshing to me to see a superhero movie where people don't think that the hero... Like, it's a very typical plot point in recent movies for the people of the town or whatever to hate.
So because the DCEU did a bad job, now Marvel has to do a bad job?
I just... It feels good as an audience member to me, the audience of me sitting in my room alone when I watch this, to have other people supporting
No.
the hero.
No. That's not Spider-Man.
It can. I mean, it can be. It is now.
Way to
ruin it for you.
way to make it worse. Like, hey, this is the way it is now. Like, it's not a bad dream.
Yeah.
I can't. I need to describe to you the moment of waking up the next day after watching Spider-Man: Homecoming. Thinking, man, was that real? Did I really get cheated out of a Spider-Man movie? But
Can I ask a question that I think will be funny no matter how you answer?
what?
What is a larger just disgrace in your heart of hearts to a franchise? Spider-Man: Homecoming or The Dark Knight Rises?
Oh, easily The Dark Knight Rises.
I figured that.
Oh. Where's some salt? You just poured it on my open wound. There's a difference now, though. that Batman is done. It's over. It's no longer the newest
Yeah.
Batman, but still is. Oh my god.
Yeah.
But yeah, it felt like it would have been. Oh, The Dark Knight Rises, man.
Yeah.
Boy, what a horrible movie that was. I feel like it'd be interesting if they brought J. Jonah Jameson in the MCU and he blamed Spider-Man for stuff that turns out... It'd be cool if he blamed Spider-Man for everything that every other superhero does. Like, almost like a conspiracy theory thing, almost.
Yeah. I'd like that.
So, let's see. Oh, like I said earlier, the Washington Monument and ferry scenes I couldn't get into because they had Spider-Man figuring out how to use all those stupid Iron Man gadgets. Not being true to Spider-Man. And I will say, for a movie that felt like it only cared about comedy, they didn't use it when it was necessary, like in Spider-Man's dialogue when fighting the Vulture. I rewatched. He's silent.
Yeah.
That's when you're supposed to release the comedy of him like trying to mess with the villain.
Yeah. So I mean, you want more just like one-liner, like Spider-Man snark.
Yeah.
That is kind of what I think of as Spider-Man. Normally, I kind of don't like snark battle comments, but I feel like that's very Spider-Man. So yeah.
So to repeat my stuff, because we're coming to the end of this. And I also have a few questions for the future.
Yeah.
What's next?
Yeah.
So to repeat, after what looked like an arc showing that Peter doesn't need the tech suit, he gets it back in the end. Then Aunt May finds out he's Spider-Man, and there's a stupid joke in the end. And the credits roll, and my heart is shattered.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think that. So we're basically talking about future
Yes.
Spider-Man.
Now we have said our reviews. For those of you still listening,
Yeah.
boy, this is a long one.
Yeah. So this is the wrap up. So
Yes.
we're getting there.
So we're talking about what's next. So this is a cinematic universe.
Yeah.
So we have 4 movies to talk about. Then we'll have final thoughts.
Well, I'll just say that I think that they have a lot going that I think that they could, like, even from looking at it from your perspective, I think they have a lot where they could make a good movie following this up. Like, if they just do every single hope that we have.
I feel like it's probably going to repeat.
I mean,
And the thing that worries me is that I love Marvel,
Yeah.
but they're not the best when it comes to sequels unless
That's
you're
true.
competing against a
That's
DC movie, which we're not going to have for a while.
Yeah, that's it. So, I mean, I think there's also a high chance of failure, but, yeah, say what else you think.
All right, so we'll go through each movie real quick. I said I'm excited. This is a quick little shout out. I'm so excited for Black Panther.
What is it? It's a month away, right? Like,
So,
can't wait.
we live in a world now where it takes usually I'll spend the week before and watch the previous movies.
Yeah.
I could just watch Civil War, which, I love watching Civil War, but if you're going to watch one, why not watch all?
Yeah.
So, you gotta prepare a month in advance for Civil War. For Black Panther.
Yeah.
So, very excited. Okay, so here's the thing. Our next Spider-Man thing will be Avengers Infinity War. So, I'm hoping that Spider-Man Homecoming was just a horrible mistake, and that his next appearance will redeem the character, and will be more like what we had in Civil War. However, we see that he has the suit, that he turned down from Tony. I'm assuming that it does have more Iron Man-like stuff, and it does look a lot like the suit they had in the comics from the 2015 relaunch of Amazing Spider-Man that was absolutely terrible, where they full-on turned Peter Parker into a Tony Stark knockoff, where he is a billionaire of Parker Industries, and Everything else about the movie looks great. I'm real excited. Captain America's my favorite MCU character, so...
I mean, it looks great. It probably isn't written by the people who made the script you don't like.
No, it's by the guys who did Civil War.
Yeah, and it's going to be a Spider-Man in a role probably more similar to like in Civil War because he's, it's not a Spider-Man movie.
But he does have that suit.
But it is a different suit than that particular one. So, I mean,
hopefully
they could do something different.
I'm hoping that the suit has limited gadgets. Like, I hope because I'm assuming it will go into space, so I'm hoping it's just for oxygen and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, that is also what I hope, but I think I have quite a bit of faith that it's going to be more like akin to a Civil War since it's written by them. So I always forget to ask this. I've been meaning to ask this for a while. Yeah.
So you said the Marvel Cinematic Universe is your favorite of the current superhero franchises.
Yeah.
But when you zoom in, which franchise in the MCU is your favorite?
So if you counted Spider-Man into that, would that just be Homecoming?
Yeah.
Okay. That's oh no, I am not saying that. I am not saying that.
I think you know what mine probably is.
It's tough because there's some like individual movies I like, but then I don't. Like, I love Iron Man, but then there's those other ones.
Yeah.
And
did you not like Iron Man 3?
It was okay.
Okay.
But 2.
Yeah, 2. Well, here's the thing to think about. You heard me talk about Spider-Man Homecoming. I don't think it's the worst MCU movie. That belongs to Iron Man 2. But here's the thing. While it's because I care about Spider-Man. You want me to give my Iron Man 2 full review? It sucked.
All right.
The end.
There. We don't need to talk about it.
That's all I have to say. That's why we don't have a Thor Ragnarok one, because it was great. The end.
I'm just going based off of consistency and having seen all of them, even though I don't feel that strongly about the answer. But I kind of have to lean Guardians of the Galaxy. But it's just like, it doesn't contain any of the heroes that I find iconic or like. But at the same time, I like both the movies, so it's kind of easy to say that one.
I'm now probably going to watch Guardians Volume 2 on Netflix soon. Because of what you said.
I mean, I could see a high potential of you not liking it, but it's pretty similar. But I could see you also liking it more than the first one. But
so did you want to guess what my favorite MCU franchise is? I think I've said it a few times.
Hulk? Or, I mean...
Well,
yeah,
franchise.
Oh, so Captain America.
Yes. Have you seen the Captain America ones, or?
I haven't seen any of... Okay, here's actually a question. This has been keeping me from plunging into them as of recently. How must is it to watch them in order?
In order?
Like, starting with the first... what is it called?
The first Avenger?
Yeah, the first Avenger, then Winter Soldier,
I feel like... Are you thinking just doing Civil War?
I kind of want to skip the first one.
I feel like the two I feel like connected, and the first one's kind of standalone.
Oh, okay. Because I kind of just want to watch Winter Soldier and Civil War.
Winter Soldier and Civil War, I think, are the two best MCU movies.
Okay.
I think the first one is still really great.
Yeah.
It's one of the few trilogies where it feels like every movie kept getting better. So I personally feel that way. Oh, I'll get hate too. But why not? I feel that way also about the Star Wars trilogy.
The original trilogy.
And also, I guess the Zack Snyder DC trilogy, even though I don't consider it a trilogy because Man of Steel disqualifies it.
Oh, so you're saying, wait, what are the three you're counting in the trilogy then for that?
What?
For the Zack Snyder ones.
I feel like I would say it, but because Man of Steel was awful, I can't consider it a trilogy.
Oh, if you just
If one of
absolutely
them,
hate one
if
of them.
one of them's terrible.
Okay.
Like that's why I can't say like Iron Man is a
Yeah.
great choice.
Yeah.
Disqualified. Like I like Batman Begins and The Dark Knight more than the Captain America movies, but it's disqualified because of well.
Yeah. And that's probably why I didn't say Iron Man. Because I would say it if it was...
You're like, if they had stopped after that first one, then we would be fine, but...
Yeah.
So... Alright, next one is Venom.
Yeah.
Now, we don't know if Spider-Man is going to be in it. And I'll be honest, if Spider-Man's on it, I don't really care.
Yeah.
If I hear Spider-Man's on it, I don't even know if I'm on bother watching
This was a
it.
topic on previous comment section.
Yes, so are you looking forward to Venom, or...
Yeah, I guess I would say I am either way. I don't care whether Spider-Man. I would prefer him in it, I think.
I hope
But-
he's in it. I think it would make more sense, because we haven't had context between the two of them.
Yeah.
I'm hoping it will at least be a Batman-type role from Suicide Squad. And just personally, I'd like to see Spider-Man with a different writer and director, and maybe as a test without Marvel Studios.
Yeah, when is Venom coming in?
It comes out like October this year.
Okay.
They announced they were going to have a first image of Venom yesterday, and it was just a picture of Tom Hardy
Oh.
being Eddie Brock.
Yeah, I have
So-
no reason to not be excited for that.
I mean,
personally. Well, I mean, I have no reason. It could be bad, but I
Yeah.
have no reason to not be excited just hearing a Venom movie. And am I curious? Yeah.
so we don't. Do you really want to talk about the cartoon movie, the Miles Morales one?
I mean, it's mostly
went into
Spider-Man
that more.
Homecoming. We can. let's
Although,
wrap
let
it
me
up.
say again, I have nothing to back this up. I still say Peter Parker voiced by Tobey Maguire. I still say it. I have nothing to back it up.
I'm on board.
It's just like a gut feeling of it's going to be Tobey Maguire. Watch for it. All right, so next Spider-Man movie will be July 5th, 2019. And two things I think need to happen and one I hope will happen. And here, the thing I hope will happen is I want this next Spider-Man movie to be as solo movie as possible with no other Avengers showing up. That's just what I want to
Yeah.
happen. I doubt it, but
Yeah.
here's what I feel like it needs to happen. You need to make it a Spider-Man movie and get rid of the Iron Man suit and give him just like a regular suit that Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield would have had. Stop having everyone try to get with Aunt May. Introduce Spider-Man supporting characters like Harry Osborn and the real Mary Jane. Instead of having him rely on Avengers tech, give him the Daily Bugle, because not only is it an iconic thing, but it can like show him sharpening his photographic reporter skills, which could make it like him solving crimes more interesting. And plus have it where people don't just automatically love Spider-Man, and it gives a little bit of tension and conflict for our hero. And number two, shift the focus from comedy to a drama with comedy. And that's been in Spider-Man's DNA from the beginning and is where the character works best. And to do that, you gotta get rid of Ned. Either kill him off or have him move away because of Peter's secret. Something that will affect Peter. And get rid of Michelle. And look, Sony wants Spider-Man to be a billion-dollar franchise. And I think that having it be a drama with comedy is much more rewatchable than a comedy with drama. Because, to get that $1 billion, you need repeat viewings, and I don't think this movie is rewatchable at all when you just focus on the comedy. And, yeah, so anything you want, and then we'll say who we think the next villain will be.
Yeah, I totally want it to be a solo Spider-Man movie first. That's like one of the biggest things I want. The biggest thing I want is for there to be a very minimal suit, like it doesn't have to be like like it can have some tech. Like I just want it to be as minimal as possible.
I say no tech.
Preferable no tech. But I just I want it. I want him to have to. I want it to be minimalized. Like he has to. I want the whole thing that it felt like Spider-Man: Homecoming was trying to say to come into fruition. I want there to again be a villain that is a character villain and not an over-the-top villain. As I said, that's true for any superhero movie going forward. I would... Yeah, I just want it to be more grounded. Like, they really are hammering in the friendly neighborhood Spider-Man aspect of it. And it stays, like, in town. Like, no vacations to DC. Maybe some web swinging.
That would be nice.
But, yeah, I feel like it...
Oh, also, no filler scenes like that stupid warehouse scene.
Yeah, that was one of my less favorite scenes. But, yeah, I feel like Homecoming was not, like, classic Spider-Man by any means. We just went over how it's not. I didn't necessarily dislike it for that, but now I do want to see that. I want to see the most classic Spider-Man movie you can make. So, I guess that's what I want.
Do you think that's possible with what they've set up?
I think it is if you have different writers and make different choices and do things that I think actually were set up.
And luckily, those two writers who kind of un-Spider-Man'd it are not coming back.
Okay. What villain do we think?
Yes.
Because they tease...
Or villain that you think or want.
They tease Scorpion, right? I mean, or is that just kind of a... Is that kind of like a dumb fake teaser like with MJ?
No, he is Scorpion. I don't know if they kind of set it up for him to be...
Okay.
It wasn't like the Joker card at the end of Dark Knight where you knew... I mean, end of Batman Begins where you knew what was coming next.
The thing is how... Maybe just... I would have no idea then what it could possibly be in the next one. But if I were to say what I want it to be, I could see them... Like... Maybe I'm thinking like I could see them redoing one that was a more minor one. Like, maybe like an iteration of Sandman or something. But I would have nothing to go on for an actual prediction if it's not Scorpion.
So, I have just a feeling. Or kind of what I would like. Both kind of like, I think these are probably the next possible and what I would like. So, I don't know if they're going to bring back another classic villain. I think maybe they will for the third one, and I think probably the one you're most likely to see from the previous two series, I think would probably be Dr. Octopus.
Yeah.
He's my favorite Spider-Man villain, so
yeah.
Hopefully. But I think that the two most likely, and the first one is the one I want most, is Mysterio.
And it hasn't been in one yet, right? So
yeah. So
I was trying to think who hasn't been done yet.
So Mysterio is one I think is possible. That's the one I want most. Another one who would be cool to see. I don't think they would do them together because they would contradict each other. But another one I think that could work well and could be cool to see would be Kraven the Hunter.
I'm not familiar with.
He's like a hunter who wants to hunt the man spider.
Okay, so the man spider. I can see who would reference. Yeah.
So that's why I mean, there's a psychopath trying to hunt Spider-Man.
That sounds like
and he's going to the concrete jungle.
I hope it's that.
It could be really cool.
They should ditch the drama altogether. The first one was a comedy. This one's a horror.
Yes.
And then the third one's going to be an art flick. And it's going to be the worst.
And it's done in French and it's black and white. And you don't understand a thing that's going on. It's almost like Mother.
Yeah,
You don't know what is going
I actually
on.
want to see that because I sometimes like stupid pretentious.
I've heard it
films.
is so bad.
I mean, I've heard that it was just partly the reaction was that it was marketed totally
Yes,
wrong.
I heard they market it as a horror movie, and people were just like, "What is this? This is weird."
Yeah, it was to the wrong audience.
Yeah.
I like really weird, stupid movies like that. So I'm saving my judgment until I finally see it. But that's what the third one's gonna be. It's like Mother.
All right, so now we'll give our final thoughts on the movie, just how you felt or whatever. I don't know who. Maybe we should leave you for last, so you can
Okay.
end on a more positive note. And I would just say before I stink. What, guys? It's been a long day. We've been going a long while with this show. Before I say what I think, I'll just say this. I think Spider-Man: Homecoming is the worst Spider-Man movie ever made. It's just, for me, is just beyond a doubt. I think objectively, it's a horrible script, bad acting. Well, from two characters. I mean, most of, you know what? Never mind.
The acting is mostly good.
Mostly good. I don't. The script is horrible. That's the thing you gotta remember. You know, the actors didn't come up with those lines. Hopefully. But it's a horrible script. It's just, the story is stupid. The jokes are unfunny, and I didn't care. I think it's the second worst MCU movie ever, behind Iron Man 2. Would you like to take a guess at what I think the worst Marvel movie ever made is? Not MCU. I mean, of all time.
The Hulk. I know there's a bad one there.
Yes.
That's it.
Yo, I tried rewatching it. Oh my god, it is so bad.
What year Hulk?
2003.
Oh, okay.
Oh my god. 2 minutes of him jumping and the wind blowing on his face. It's so boring. You don't care. And then like there's the scene where he meets his evil dad, who's like, there's like an awkward scene where he works as a janitor at the lab that Bruce Banner works at, and Betty Ross goes, "Hey, where's Benny? Is he not in today?" And he goes, "Benny's dead. I'm the new guy." Should you call the cops? And then he fights the poodles, and then like it's almost like they break it up into like comic book panels. Like you're supposed to one scene and then and the poodles, and there's a scene where he's supposed to fight his dad. And like his dad goes, "Look at what they did to you, to me, to humanity." If you need a laugh, Nick Nolte in the Hulk is so bad.
We talked about who our like least favorite, like basically the superhero we don't care about once was, and I said the Hulk for me. And then I was recently having like a moment of like remembrance where I was like, I think that was the first Hulk movie I saw was the terrible one.
It's so
and I was like,
bad.
I should probably rewatch some Hulk movies.
Oh, I love the Incredible Hulk movie. The one with Ed Norton. And then the fight scene, they don't even fight, it's just like frozen images.
Yeah.
It's something else. But yes. So, final thoughts. To humanity! Oh man. Benny was lucky he didn't have to sit through that movie because he was dead, as we learned. Alright, so Spider-Man is my favorite Marvel character, and it's heartbreaking to see a character treated so disrespectfully to the point where it has nothing to do with the character I'm a fan of. And I think I can spoil it. You know, I like Star Wars The Last Jedi. And you know, there are fans voicing their anger about the movie. And you know what? I get it. When it's not just a bad movie, you feel it goes against the character. Look, I'm not a diehard Star Wars fan, but it is such a horrible feeling when you see them do that to a character you care about so much. And you also feel cheated because you're just like, you were expecting to see a movie, it's like you didn't get one.
Yeah.
So it's I get it, guys. So Marvel Studios said that a lot of creative decisions were made because they didn't want this movie to be like any other Spider-Man movie. And it's great if you want to put your own spin on a character, but you still need to stay true to the root and core of who the character is. An example is look at the Adam West Batman, Michael Keaton, and the first two Christian Bales. They are all clearly different takes from the character, and very different from each other, but they still have certain core elements that show who the character is. And no matter what, you're going to be compared to the previous versions anyway, so just accept it and make the best movie you can instead of just being afraid of being compared. And seeing how badly Marvel Studios did at rebooting a popular film franchise, and this was the one that they did that was already a successful film franchise. Like, yeah, you had the Hulk, but the Hulk franchise was dead, as we discussed. Yeah. So this is the first one that they're doing an already popular character, and it does make me dread seeing what they're going to do with the X-Men. So I could care less about what they're going to do with the X-Men, because I think it's going to be terrible. And look, however, the Marvel Cinematic Universe has made so many great movies that I'm willing to give them another chance with Spider-Man and Avengers Infinity War. Even though I don't like what I'm seeing in the trailers, I'm crossing my fingers, that the movie will undo my fears and redeem the character. This is the most controversial opinion you'll hear, guys. However, if not, and we still have the Homecoming sequel as part of the Marvel Sony deal. And if Marvel Studios continues to have Spider-Man be an Iron Man knockoff and focus on comedy more than anything else, then after that movie, I hope the deal ends and Spider-Man leaves the MCU and they reboot. And it seemed too good to be true, and I guess it was in a way.
Okay. I thought it was even worse than you thought.
Oh, the ultimate plot twist!
Yeah. We said there's going to be spoilers. Spoilers.
You thought Star Wars
hated.
Last Jedi had a plot twist?
Yeah. No, I am a more casual fan of Marvel, so I don't have this sanctity to the characters. So I was willing to have a different take. And it was a different take. And I found it almost refreshingly different in a way than most other superhero movies. And I went in with tons of expectations of what they were going to do that I wouldn't like, and every single one of them was subverted. And even one of the major plot points, and the most satisfying plot point, that the stupid suit isn't what he needs to be a hero. That was like the point, and that was the biggest subversion of my expectations that made me come out of it liking it, maybe even more than I expected to. And then, even though it was a completely different take on what Spider-Man should be, it's great to me in context that I hope that they can still do a classic Spider-Man movie. I think I put a little bit too much faith on movies riding on where they're going to go next. Because I said the same thing about The Force Awakens, and I was satisfied. All of my expectations were met.
You have finally... Yeah, well, now we can finally both get hate for this episode.
But we'll have to see with Spider-Man Homecoming.
Look at that dislike bar. It's growing more.
It's going nuts.
Oh, man, you thought the Saving Christmas one was bad. Oh my god. Remember when I would listen to the episode and I said don't buy it? Someone uploaded the whole movie to YouTube. And I watched 30 seconds of it before stopping because my biggest complaint was there's no one looking through the lens of this camera because it's not focusing on anywhere it's supposed to. Like the guy was just carrying it around. It was so... Like, the action was over here, and the guy was just walking, and it's bumpy.
What? They didn't buy a tripod. No.
That would have been nice. A tripod.
Okay, so
back to Spider-Man Homecoming.
I had complaints, like the fact that they kind of stomped on the point that I thought that they were trying to make at the end of the movie, but almost everything I don't like about it, like there's there's tons of things I don't like about it, and you've also brought tons of more things to not like about it, and I agree with tons of them. And my opinion probably has dropped from how much you have said negative. You are
apologize.
actually ruining this movie for me. No, but
I'm sorry, guys.
everything to me is more of a nitpick, and it doesn't change the fact that I overall come out of this as a positive experience, and I think that they have a lot of potential to make something even greater. So
Nowhere to go but up.
there's the yeah. I think that's true because I have faith in people,
Okay.
and I think that's a way to end this episode.
Yes. What a fun little journey it's been.
And my rating is 0 out of 10. I lied the whole no. Okay. That was our first comment section about a one movie.
Yes.
We failed talking about just one movie for a lot of it, but and
Yes.
this is also the longest comment section episode, I think.
Beat it, guys. Oh my goodness. The laptop's at 24%.
Well, that was our Spider-Man Homecoming episode. That's
Yes.
it, right?
Let's wrap this thing up.
You know what we always say, and even though we stayed technically
Spin a web
on
around
the
it.
topic and around that topic, it was a rabbit hole all around the topic
Yes.
for a long time.
Yes.
And as always, keep
Keep falling down that rabbit hole.